Hello and welcome to another video. So today I've come out with a very specific image in mind, and that is of somewhere I've been a few times now. I think a couple of vlogs, one's not out yet but will be out shortly, and one a few weeks ago. And that is the hawthorn tree. It's the lone tree on Dartmoor with the rocks. So the reason I'm coming back here today is because I don't feel like I've nailed this spot. And each time the weather changes, I'm coming back out to see whether I can get a more interesting image. It's very overcast today. We've got some really dark clouds in the sky. We've got some wispier clouds over here, but over this side where the photo will be taken, we've got some really dark, moody clouds. Now, I want it to be a little bit lighter than that because I want a long exposure image. So the way the clouds are moving at the moment is a little bit hard to predict within the image. So if I show you, you've got from roughly about the tree to the left, clouds are blowing to the left. And then if you look to the right of the tree, the clouds are moving to the right. If I held you still enough there, you can actually see how the clouds are moving. So where what the clouds will look like in the image on a long exposure, who knows? But I'm going to give it a go anyway. So I've been into photography and videography for as long as I can remember, and I remember the first time I got into photography properly, which was when I was about 15, I want to say 16. I was doing GCSEs at the time, and my uncle sold me a Canon camera. It was a big one. It had big lens, a few different lenses that I could change, nice case. Really nice piece of equipment. I can't remember the exact model. But that camera got me into photography in the first instance, and I took a few photos with it, and I was rubbish at it. I couldn't get decent pictures. They were always blurry, or they was underexposed or overexposed, and I gave up. I gave up quite quickly, probably within a couple of rolls of film. Fast forward 15 or so years, and I picked up a point and shoot camera. Now, it wasn't anything spectacular, just a standard, probably a megapixel or something really silly. Wasn't a lot in value, and I used it to take pictures of the kids, doing all the usual stuff, getting down low, and I had a natural ability to talk to camera. It was uncanny, it was. I had a natural ability to, or not an ability, but I had a natural flair for photography, if you like. So I instinctively I knew, this is before internet times, and instinctively I knew getting down behind something, maybe shooting through something, frame within a frame, all those sorts of things. I knew that was the best way to take photos, or in my opinion it was the best way to take photos. But because the quality of the camera was so poor, I kind of gave up quite easily. As tends to be a theme in my life, I give up quite easily on things that I get bored with. I think it's an ADHD thing, is just picking up something and then dropping it again. But photography's always come back to me. Whereas really, what I should have done was I should have carried on taking photos and carried on. And even if I couldn't get the image quality, I could have got the composition right, or I could have got the framing right of something. I could have got whatever I was taking images of at the time, I could have got that a lot better. So when I picked it back up in 2016, I got my first DSLR, but a few years before that, I got an iPhone with the and I picked up the little macro lenses. I don't know if you ever seen them, but you can pick up little macro lenses for your smartphone, and I was taking macro photos with that. And again, because it's image quality and the choice of camera, it's a smartphone, so I never really carried that on. So I think perseverance is probably the biggest thing you can do for yourself in photography. Let me talk you through this image quickly. Now, the thought process is these two rocks as the lead-in line, all the way up to the tree in the mid-ground, and then the main star, if you like, is the clouds as they come over the tree. Long exposure, probably 2 or 3 minute exposure to bring the clouds so they blur out nice and streaky. Now, this will be a composite image because the wind, obviously, for the clouds to be moving in the first place, needs to be quite strong, and it's blowing that tree quite a lot, so it's going to end up blurry. So I will have to take the image, which is what I've got set up right now. So I'm taking the tree as a 400th of a second photo with a 6.3 aperture, just to keep the so I can keep my shutter speed high and ISO 100, and I'm taking that just slightly overexposed, just so I can keep some of the light on the tree, because if I go too dark then the image won't work, because there'll be no light to see the tree basically. And it's quite, obviously the sun is behind clouds, as you can see, so as much light as possible the better. Then I'm going to come in front of the tree and I'm going to take an image of the sky, and then I'm going to blend them together in Photoshop. So I'm far from an experienced photographer, and my experience has been greatly increased by YouTube. I realised that since starting YouTube just over a year ago, my photography has improved, and not just my photography, but my mindset to how I approach taking photos has changed. And that is just because of the fact that I'm out doing it every day, or not every day, but I'm out doing it quite often. And the amount of knowledge I gained from 2016, from when I started photography, to 2022 to when I started YouTube, was quite a lot of knowledge. And I'd watched loads of videos and read loads of books, and I'd taken all the knowledge in, but never really put it into practice. And that's why my photography was such a slow growing process from that time, because I'd not really done the actual work. Probably gone out once every other month or so, and sometimes not even that. Sometimes I'm just getting the camera out just to do the kids' birthday parties, or if we're going away, I'll take some photos of the kids and stuff, but that's about it. But my actual photography really didn't come along or start developing until I did YouTube and started getting out there all the time. So that's what I'm trying to say is the perseverance and keeping getting out there, and keep on trying your hardest, and changing what you don't like as well. Don't forget to change what doesn't work. Obviously, if you're not learning from your photography, then you're never going to develop. But yeah, just keep getting out there and keep trying. Okay, so for the long exposure, I am using a polarizer and the Super Stopper, and I'm at f4, and I'm varying between 3 and 4 minutes for the exposure, because I want the light, I want the clouds to streak across the sky, but I also want some some detail in the sky still. And if I leave it open too long, the cloud will just look like a big white blanket, and I don't want that. I want it to look like it's moving. And I've also got a bit of tape, which I always keep a roll of Gorilla Tape in my bag, just to block out the light that comes from the back of the camera. Something I didn't do when I first started taking long exposure photography, because I'm always learning. Every time I go out, I learn something new, which is pretty cool. So yeah, let's take that picture, and I will show you on the back of the camera the difference between the two images. So once that's finished, I haven't started it yet, but once it's taken, I'll show you what they look like. Okay, so just looking at the back of the camera, you can see from this shot here, which is the 1/400th of a second, and the difference between this shot and this 179 seconds shot, how much more simplified that image looks between the two shots, which is going to give you, a nice simple image and allow you to have some sky and some interest in the sky as well. So I'll put those together, I'll make the composite, and I will pop the image up on the screen. That image came out okay. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please do consider giving the video a thumbs up. It's not the end yet though. I'm just going to pop over there to here and get an image of this tour here with the clouds moving in the background, because they are moving quite fast, and I think I might make a nice image if the light hits the tour in the right way. I can get an image of that. So I'm going to head over there and do that. But yeah, if you did enjoy the content so far, please do consider giving it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate that. And let's get over there. quick question, does anybody else do this? Carry your gear to the next location, or do you pack it away and then get it back out again? Let me know in the comments. Right, okay, so I'm set up at the location, but just quickly I want to go back to, well, I don't want to go back to, but I want to go back to the Lone Tree and just mention this one thing, because I know one particular viewer will be on me about this. I did forget to mention that the focal length was 24mm on that one, using the 24 to 105 lens. Now back to this one quickly. I've set the shot up here. Again, it's with the 24 to 105 lens, but we're at a focal length of about 70mm. And I've got an 80th of a second for my shutter speed, f16 at ISO 100, and I'm just underexposing the image. Well, I was before the light changed. When the actual sun, if the sun peeks through, and it will overexpose the image, and I don't want to blow out the image too much, because I won't have a lot of time for when the sun does peek through to get an image that's correctly exposed. So I'm just underexposing it for the time being. Obviously if there's a little bit more light, but it's quite a heavy, quite a dense sky, so I feel that when the light does come through, it might be a little bit of a wait, that it might only be fleeting, so I'm just setting up as a precaution. Okay, so the sun did peek its head just long enough to get this image, and this image, and that's gone. So just long enough to get those, so I think that'll be enough. I'll do the long exposure now, and then I will maybe see if I can get a bit more sun, but if not, I'll blend them together and I'll pop it up on the screen. Right, so this is f4, 70mm focal length at ISO 100 for about 1.5 minutes, and it's given us this image here. So cloud wise, I think that's quite a nice blur of cloud. You can see that there's some you can see that there's motion in it, but it's not too much, I think. But yeah, I'll blend them together. I'll pop the image up on the screen, and I've taken a couple of others, and that I don't think need blending, so I'll pop them up as well and see what you think of those. Right, that's me done. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. If you haven't liked the video already, please do consider giving it a thumbs up. Really appreciate that. And if you aren't subscribed, please do consider subscribing, as you will get notified if you hit the bell icon of new videos like this. And I will catch you on the next one.